El Dorado Hills versus Placerville. Which town is right for your family and how do you decide? By the end of this video, you'll be able to answer those questions. This is the next installment in my series of town versus town videos, and I've been getting a lot of requests for El Dorado Hills versus Placerville, and some of the details here are going to shock you, especially when it comes down to cost of living. So I'm going to run you through 8 critical criteria to evaluate these two communities and decide which one is best for your family. Starting with criteria number 1, the general vibe or feel of the community. El Dorado Hills and Placerville are just a 23-minute drive apart, but the two communities do have very different, distinct feels to them. El Dorado Hills is the first town you hit as you cross the El Dorado County line coming out of Sacramento County. It's the end of the flats and the beginning of the foothills. It's foothills light, if you will, at just 700-ish feet above sea level. Now, by comparison, Placerville, just 20 minutes or so up the hill, is a little over 1,800 feet above sea level, and you can feel and see that difference in the community. El Dorado Hills is going to be more of a suburban, neighborhood-based style of living, with most of your shopping happening in strip mall style shopping malls. By comparison, Placerville is definitely a small mountain town. El Dorado Hills has their beautiful modern town center that's been built out over the last decade and is very new, filled with high-end boutiques, restaurants, and a movie theater. By comparison, Placerville has a small, quaint Gold Rush era downtown filled with mom and pop shops staffed with local owners, and it definitely gives off that small town Americana vibe. Now, this footage right here I shot in 2023, but if I change it to black and white, you'd be forgiven for thinking it was archival footage from the 20s or 30s. It's just that kind of small town. If you want to get up, hop in the car, go to a nice cafe for breakfast, shop in the boutiques, and hit the movie theater all within a few minutes of your house, then El Dorado Hills is going to be the place for you. Now, if you want to go into the oldest hardware store west of the Mississippi with rough-hewn wood floors and have an old guy help you find the exact right nut or bolt for your project, or go into a bookstore that seems tiny from the outside but feels cavernous on the inside, and after 1 or 2 turns through the stacks, you're not sure you'll ever find your way out, but you're also not sure if you want to find your way out, then Placerville might be the right place for you. The difference here really is between a fast-paced suburban community in El Dorado Hills and a slower, small mountain town in Placerville. Now, you'll have to decide which of those two community styles works best for your family, but not before considering criteria number 2, which is the cost of homes in these two communities. And here you'll find a significant difference, with the median home price coming in at $935,000 in El Dorado Hills as of the recording of this video. Now, the maximum is around $3.5 million, and the bottom of the market is around $550,000. But do be advised, any homes at that bottom of the market, $550,000 price point in El Dorado Hills, are going to need some significant work. Now, what do you get for your average price of around $935,000? Well, you're going to get around a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,700 square foot home on a 1/4 acre or less that's in great shape and is move-in ready. By contrast, as of the recording of this video, the median home price in Placerville is around $509,000. That's just shy of half the price of El Dorado Hills. Now, the bottom of the market in Placerville is going to be around $400,000. Same as in El Dorado Hills, anything at that $400,000 mark is going to need significant work. Now, when it comes to the maximum price range in Placerville, the sky is the limit there. It does get into multi-million-dollar homes on large acreage if you have the budget for that. Now, what do you get for your median home price of around $509,000 in Placerville? Well, you're getting more of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700 square foot home on anything up to about an acre of land. So there's not just a difference in the price, there's also a difference in the home size and how much land you get under you and how much room you have between you and your neighbors. But you can see at nearly half the price, Placerville represents a significant difference in value for money when it comes to buying a home for your family. Before we do criteria number 3, you might be wondering why you should be listening to me at all about these two communities, and it's a fair question. My name's Rich Curtis, I'm with EXP Realty, and I've been selling homes here for nearly 20 years, in markets ranging from the Great Recession to the COVID market insanity and everything in between. So when it comes to El Dorado County real estate, I've got you covered. Now, on to criteria number 3, which is lifestyle. When it comes to lifestyle, even though these two communities are relatively close together, they have a very different feel to the lifestyle, and that's going to come down to quick access to things and location. In El Dorado Hills, you're just going to have quicker access to everything. Like I said, you can get up in the morning, hit the breakfast cafe for breakfast, shop in the boutiques, meet a friend for lunch, and see a movie and still be back by dinner time. Whereas in Placerville, doing all that might be an all-day adventure just because everything's more far apart and you're that much further up the hill. In El Dorado Hills, you have closer access to work and closer access to shopping than you do in Placerville, and it's also more of a suburban environment. So if you want to be in a place where you have quick access to everything, where it's easier and faster to do things and life moves a little bit quicker, then El Dorado Hills is for you. By contrast, in Placerville, people live more far-flung. You're going to get in the car more, you're going to be driving longer distances and longer times to get to places and to get things done. And it's a little more slow pace of life. So if your Sunday looks a little more like get up in the morning, hang out at home, have a coffee, pack your backpack, maybe meet some friends for a hike, be back in the early afternoon, hanging out at home and preparing dinner, Placerville might be the place for you. The lifestyle here in both of them is still a foothills lifestyle and is still going to be far slower than what you might be used to if you're coming from, say, the Bay Area or LA, but the two are very different, with El Dorado Hills being a much faster pace of life and quicker access to everything, including Folsom and downtown Sacramento. In Placerville, you're just a little further from those things, and it's going to be an all-day commitment if you want to go down and take advantage of what's on offer down in Sacramento. Hey, if by the end of this video you still aren't sure if these two communities are for you, or you want to look at or consider some of the other communities we have here in the foothills, feel free to reach out to me via the contact information on your screen or in the description down below. Like I said, I've been selling homes here for nearly 20 years and I've helped hundreds of families just like yours decide where to land in El Dorado County, and I'm always happy to help. All right, now on to criteria number 4 to evaluate these two communities, which is recreation. And when it comes to recreation, both communities have great access to recreation. It's just a little bit different style. In El Dorado Hills, it's going to be more of a developed suburban style recreation with more paved trails, more community parks and community rec centers, and access to Folsom Lake, where you have all the power boating and marinas and docks and that sort of thing. Now, by contrast, Placerville, being further east and up into the mountains, it's going to be more of a rural mountain style recreation. So it's going to be more of a packing your backpack for a hike, putting the mountain bikes on the car to go mountain biking, or going whitewater rafting or whitewater kayaking for the day, that sort of thing. And there's going to be less paved trails, less developed trails, and less developed parks in Placerville than there is down in El Dorado Hills. Now, if you're a true adventure sports person, then Placerville is going to have greater access to the full array of everything available to you on the western slope of the Sierras, being that further bit up the hill and that closer to Tahoe. So you have everything from Placerville itself all the way to the rock climbing at Lover's Leap and everything that South Lake Tahoe has to offer, all within that 1 hour drive time of Placerville. So if you're more of an outdoor adventure sports person, Placerville is going to be the place for you. Now, if you're more of a hop on the road bike, ride a paved trail, hit the cafe from your bike, maybe ride to work, or take the kids to a local city park kind of person, or hit the community pool, then El Dorado Hills is going to be a better fit for your family. Criteria number 5 when evaluating these two communities is cost of living. Now, of course, we've already gone over the biggest line item on your cost of living with the home costs earlier in this video, but now we're going to talk about those other items like utilities. Now, when it comes to utilities, both communities are going to be very similar. They're both going to be on PG&E for power, which unfortunately is relatively expensive power for the state of California, and they're both going to be on propane for the most part for heating, although some El Dorado homes do have access to PG&E natural gas, which will be a little bit cheaper. Now, when it comes to your electric bill, it's probably going to be a little bit higher down in El Dorado Hills for 2 reasons. 1, the homes are generally larger, and 2, it's going to be about 10 degrees hotter in El Dorado Hills than it is in Placerville because of the elevation change. Now, the reverse is true in the winter when it comes to heating the homes. In Placerville, it's a lot colder in the winter, and you might spend a little more money there. Now, that might be balanced out by the people in El Dorado Hills trying to heat larger homes, so there won't be as much of a discrepancy there as there is going to be in the cooling bills for the summer. When it comes to water, both communities are going to be, relatively speaking, about the same. When it comes to fuel for the vehicles, Placerville, in my opinion, is going to cost you more in fuel for the vehicles because it's a more far-flung community. In general, you're going to have to drive further, and it's going to be all driving on country roads, going slower, which eats up more fuel. So you're going to spend a little more gas living in Placerville than you're going to spend down in El Dorado Hills. But far and away, the takeaway here is both communities are going to be relatively the same when it comes to the cost of food, the cost of utilities. It's really going to be that home price discrepancy that gets you when it comes down to cost of living. Criteria number 6, when deciding which community is right for your family, is going to come down to fire insurance for your home. Now, both communities unfortunately are going to suffer from high fire insurance rates here. If you live in California already, you know over the last couple of decades, the cost of fire or hazard insurance for your home has skyrocketed due to all the fires we've had in the state. And it really affects everybody all the way from the Mexico-California border all the way to the Oregon-California border in the north. It really affects the whole state. But some places are hit harder than others. Now, in general, Placerville is going to be more rural, more treed, and suffer from even higher rates of fire insurance. But the difference here is the homes in El Dorado Hills tend to be, as you saw in the cost of living section, double the price. They also tend to be larger, so they're more expensive to insure, and they're not out of the woods, literally, in terms of the fire danger. So your El Dorado Hills homes probably are still going to cost you more to insure than your Placerville homes, even though they're going to get a little break on the risk of fire. They're going to be larger and more expensive, and that's going to eclipse that small break you get there. So both communities are going to be relatively the same depending on the size and cost of the home you buy in terms of fire insurance, but the home cost is going to be far less in Placerville, so your overall payments will be less in Placerville. But when it comes down to fire insurance, it's a little rough in both communities, and it's something you need to know before you decide to relocate here. Now, to give you a little perspective on that, I tell my clients in Placerville to estimate a minimum of $5,000 to $6,000 for your annual premiums for your hazard insurance. And if the home is larger or in a more fire-prone area, that can easily get up to $10,000 to $12,000 very quickly. Now, I tell my clients in El Dorado Hills, similar, that your minimum is going to be around $6,000 if you're buying a more modest family home in that average, 2,100 square foot range. But if you're getting up there, 2,700 square foot, 3,000 square foot or above, or the home has higher end finishes and is more expensive or is newer and more expensive, then $9,000 to $12,000 is going to be more what you're going to have to expect there. If you made it this far and you're getting anything at all out of this video, hit the like button, click subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos with crucial information about your relocation to El Dorado County, including the many upcoming town versus town comparison videos I have coming up for you on the channel in the next couple of months. Criteria number 7 to evaluate these two communities is schools. Now, this is a big one for the parents in the group. I have 2 little kids, so if I'm thinking about moving anywhere, evaluating the schools is a big deal to me. And I'm not going to bury the lead here. In either community you choose, Placerville or El Dorado Hills, you're going to have access to excellent schools. Now, when it comes to most of the schools across the board, you're going to find that they all score about an 8 out of 10 or higher on greatschools.org. When it comes down to the high schools in the communities, there is a bit of a discrepancy, with Placerville having El Dorado High School and Union Mine High School both scoring a 7 out of 10 on greatschools.org, and El Dorado Hills having Oak Ridge High School scoring a 10 out of 10 on greatschools.org. So there is a slight discrepancy there. But I've been interacting with the school systems here in the Placerville area for 20 years, and I can tell you they're excellent regardless of that 7 out of 10 score. Now, there are going to be some differences when it comes down to school of choice access. There's going to be a little bit more school of choice access in the Placerville area, especially for our homeschool families having homeschool support, than there is in El Dorado Hills. Now, there's going to be more actual physical go to the school of choice options in El Dorado Hills than there are in Placerville. So that depends on what you're looking for your family. If you're looking for alternative middle schools or high schools with physical campuses to go to, El Dorado Hills might be right for your family. If you're looking for more of a homeschool community and greater support for a homeschool family, then Placerville might be right for your family in that regard. But if you're putting your kids in the general public school system, both communities are going to have excellent schools that do great for your children. Criteria number 8 comes down to employment. And this is really going to be the difference between what industries you work in. Now, Placerville, being a smaller rural town, is going to, in general, have less access to a diverse job market than El Dorado Hills is. But we do have a lot of jobs in certain sectors. So we have the hospital here and all the infrastructure to support that. So if you work in healthcare, there's going to be good job access for you here in Placerville. We also are the county seat, so we have the county buildings and all the county jobs here in Placerville. So if you're looking for a county job, Placerville is going to work great for you. And we do have a small retail sector, but in general, that's going to be it. We do have a lot of schools up here in Placerville, so if you work in education, it's a great place for that as well. And then everybody else up here is some kind of entrepreneur, from your everyday entrepreneurs who are accountants, realtors like myself, people running auto shops and things like that, all the way to people working in the movie industry. Something a lot of people don't know about El Dorado County is it's frequently used as a shooting location for movies. So we have a lot of creatives here that live in the hills and support that movie making effort, whether it be sound people or camera people or just grips or people working on the set themselves to help out and support making movies. So the entrepreneurial community is really strong here in Placerville. And by contrast, down in El Dorado Hills, we have some tech companies. So right in town there, you have access to some tech jobs. Then one bump down the hill in Folsom, you have Intel, more tech jobs, and Folsom has a huge healthcare infrastructure with hospitals and offsite surgery centers and the like. So there's a lot of healthcare jobs in Folsom as well. El Dorado Hills, having quicker access to Folsom, gets that bump in job diversity by proximity. It's also closer, 23 minutes closer to downtown Sacramento, where you have all the state jobs, where you have a ton of retail jobs, a ton of restaurant jobs. There's a ton of job diversity in Sacramento. It's one of the reasons people relocate to the Sacramento area, and El Dorado Hills benefits from its closer proximity to Sacramento for that job diversity. So if you work in healthcare, if you're looking for a county job, if you're looking for an education job, or you're an entrepreneur, Placerville might be the right spot for you. If you need a greater job diversity of jobs provided for you in the community, then El Dorado Hills is going to get the win there for your family. All right, that wraps up our comparison of El Dorado Hills versus Placerville. Now, if you're still not sure which community is right for you, or maybe you are and you just want to do a deeper dive into one or the other, you can click this video right here for the pros and cons of living in Placerville. And if it's El Dorado Hills you'd like more information on, you can click this video right here on the pros and cons of living in El Dorado Hills. And if you'd like to see more town versus town comparison videos because you're still not sure where you want to land, you can click this playlist down here for the rest of my town versus town comparison videos. And if it's a deeper dive into cost of living you're looking for, then you can search my channel for my cost of living playlist and you'll find a cost of living breakdown for these two communities in there. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate you making it to the end with me, and I'll see you on the next one.